Okay. Yeah, the computer cut off on me, so we were almost finished. So this, we should. I'm going to back up a little bit, and hopefully this will cover where it skipped. So equilibrium. So remember, there's dynamic versus static equilibrium. Dynamic is motion. Static is like your head is moved to one side. Even though your eyes are closed, you know it's to one side. You're holding it still, but that's called static equilibrium. And that's done by the utricle and saccule for the static. So the utricle would be here. The saccule would be here. That's for static equilibrium. So we were talking about that when it cut off. So there's little rocks, and so basically it's almost like little hair cells again, but on top of them is a jello matrix. And embedded into that matrix are little rocks. They call them otoliths, Otoliths. I think they also call them statoconia in your book now. So basically, when you tilt your head to one side, those little rocks, go to one side. And they pull on that jello, and that jello pulls on those hair cells, and they're basically little mechanoreceptors, and they let your brain know, hey, um, your head's to this side. You put your head back straight and then go to the other side, right? Then the rocks pull in the other direction, and they send signals to your brain that, hey, now my head is in this position. So it's just kind of weird. And sometimes those little rocks can get stuck to one side, or uh, so basically there's a maneuver that they can do in the doctor's office, and it works sometimes. And it's weird. You can look it up. Uh, but they'll lean the patient back, and then they'll move their head really fast in one direction, or they'll sit their body, twist their body and turn it in a certain direction and hopefully reset these little rocks. I forget the name of the maneuver, but it works often enough that it's worth a try. But sometimes they have to give the patient medicine like antivert, if they're dizzy. But yeah, that can be a problem if those things get stuck to one side or the other. Now in here, this is called an ampullae or ampule. Well, ampullae is ampulla is singular, ampullae is plural. Inside of there are these little cristae, which are almost like little hair cells again. So let's see if I got a picture of those. Yeah. So down in the ampulla. So these semicircular canals are full of fluid. All right. And they're in three different uh, directions. You got an anterior, posterior, and lateral. So it's basically for the three different dimensions. And so that picks up acceleration in all three of those planes. Okay, so let's just act like this is a lateral one, right? And then you're spinning around like an ice skater spins, right? Um, so the fluid has inertia inside of those little tubes. So the fluid wants to stay where it's at while your head spins. So it's as if the fluid is flowing this away when you're spinning in that direction. Over here, say now we're spinning in the opposite direction, right? This fluid in this part of the canal wants to stay put. So it's as this spins under it, it's pushing this little cristae in this direction, right? And so it's as if the fluid is actually flowing in that direction, even though technically the fluid's kind of staying put and the body is spinning. But same effect. And so if you do a flip off the diving board, then another one of these semicirculars is going to pick up that rotation. If you do a spin, or the lateral one may pick it up, or whatever, or it could be all three going at the same time if you're doing a really complex maneuver, like those divers in the Olympics that do all that twisting and turning. Um, so anyway, that's pretty much it. So the hair cells in the utricle and saccule and ampullae, that's your receptors. I'm not going to do a tracing, but just make sure you know that balance goes to the cerebellum. Does that go through the thalamus? Nope. Because smell and balance do not go through the thalamus. And that was it. That was just a little piece that we didn't pick up. Okay, so I'll post those for you to YouTube, and then keep studying. All right, let's stop share and let's end the meeting. End meeting.